welcome to this video. This is Mr. Sikwebu speaking, and in this series of videos, we are going to learn how to code. Now, some of you may be wondering and may have heard this buzzword of people calling coding, coding this, coding that, and maybe you've been wondering what coding is all about. So in this term, we are going to learn to code. And to learn to code, we are going to use a software called Scratch from MIT. Now, if you haven't yet done so and you want to download Scratch, I would advise you to go to scratch.mit.edu or .edu, and then you say /download. Now it's going to bring you to the Scratch website, and depending on the operating system that you are using, you will then select it. So I'm using Windows currently, and so I'm going to select Windows, and I will click on direct download. Alright, it's then going to download it, and after downloading it, you can go ahead and install, and you can start using and enjoying the benefits of Scratch. So what is coding then? The simplest answer that I have is that coding is telling a machine what actions to perform and how to perform those actions. Alright? It's just telling a machine what to perform and how to perform those actions. That's what coding is all about. So in the previous term in class, if you are part of my students, you would have learned about algorithms when we were learning about computational thinking. Alright, so now we want to learn to code, and we want to learn how to tell a computer what to do by telling it what steps to learn or what steps to do for us. And so we are going to use Scratch in order to do that. So the purpose of this video is just to introduce you to the interface, to the Scratch interface, and we are not going to code anything today, or rather in this video we are just going to learn the interface. So without using any more time, let's get down to it. So if you have Scratch installed already, I would want you to open it, and it's going to bring you to this interface. Now we have a few things that are going to be important for us as we continue with our journey. Now the first one is that we have these tabs here, code, costumes, and then sounds. Alright, the first one is the coding, the code one. This is called the code, or the block palettes in Scratch. That is what we call it, and it is where all the code blocks are found. All right, so all the blocks that we are going to use are found in this blocks tab, and this block tab, this blocks tab is color coded. So for motion, it's blue. For sound, for looks, it is purple. For sound, it is pink, and so on. Alright, you can go ahead and click on each of these and see what is inside there. So that is the block palette in Scratch, right? And they are also listed by category, and they are color coded, if I didn't say that. Then secondly, we have the script area, which is where the code is dragged from to be assembled. So we find the block palette, and then we also find in the block palette we find the script area. So each block, motion for instance, has got its own scripts. Looks has the looks scripts. Sound has the sound scripts. Events is events scripts, and so forth and so on. All right, and that is also, it is listed by the category. Well, these are the categories that the block palette is listed as. So there's the categories inside. For instance, if motion, will have move, turn, go to, glide. So it has to do with movement. Looks has to do with looks, how your sprite looks. All right, and thirdly, okay, let me stop counting. This cat is what we call a sprite. So whenever I'm talking about a sprite, I'm talking about the character that is currently on our screen and not the code ring, right? So this is called a sprite. So whenever I talk about a sprite, I'm talking about whatever character is here on our screen. So the script, we have the block palette, we have the script area, we now have a sprite also. All right. So now this code, these scripts, in order for us to use them, we drag them onto the code area. So this is our code area right here. This is where all the code that we are going to write for our script is going to go, for our sprite is going to go. So everything that we drag here, it is going to be controlling this sprite over here. So this sprite has been designed to follow this code. So we take these scripts and we join them like a puzzle, and when we start our code, this cat or this sprite is going to interpret or read these instructions or this algorithm that it has been given, and it is then going to do it. So for instance, on this one, it is going to move 10 steps, it is to turn 15 degrees, and it is going to go to a random position, okay, like so. So this is now the script area. So sorry, we take the scripts, we put them in the code area, and whatever code we place in there, it is going to affect how our sprite is going to behave. All right, so we then move on to the stage area. Now the stage area is where our code comes to life. We can see the code coming to life and it is activated. So the code that we have written here, it comes to life right in the stage area. All right, so we have here the code that I just demonstrated, and it is demonstrated here and it is played out here by the sprite that is in the stage area. And then we have the sprite info panel of sprite info pane. Now this is a sprite info pane. At the bottom right of your screen we have the sprite name. All right, this we have a sprite name. So let's say we wanted to name this sprite, let's just call it Faith. Okay, we want to call this sprite Faith, and now this sprite, you can see the name of the sprite is going to be Faith. All right, and let's say we also wanted this sprite to grow in size or to be smaller. Let's make it 50. All right, so we can decrease the size of that sprite, we can also increase the size of that sprite, and it is also giving us the direction that the sprite is facing. All right, so if we said it must face at 90 degrees, we can do that. If we said it must change and face at 180 degrees, we can do that. All right, if we said it must do a 360, we can also do that. Okay, so let's leave it at 90 for now. Okay, 92 is fine. Then importantly, you will see this arrow facing left and right, and you will see this one facing up and down. So those two arrows, the one is for the horizontal and the other one is for the vertical. So this one will tell us where our sprite is on our stage area. Right, so our stage area has locations, as it were. All right, has locations. So for instance, the center of this stage area, the center of it is 0 0. So if I said it must go to the horizontal now is from left to right. If I said it must go to 0, I will write 0 there, and you will see it will go to 0. And if I said it was go to the 0 for up and down, now it will be at the dead center of the stage area. So we call this then the x-axis. So the x-axis moves from left to right, and then the y-axis moves from top to bottom. So if I can demonstrate to us by going to the maybe finally, and then I demonstrate the next thing. If I click on this eye, it will disappear, but it's still there in our project, but it will disappear. If I click on this one, it will reappear. And if I wanted to delete it, I would press on this garbage can, alright, and it will be deleted. Now if I want to undo, I can go to edit and restore sprite. But unlike Word and Excel that we have worked with before, you can only undo so many times in Scratch. Alright, so please don't delete a lot unless you are really sure you want to delete something. Now to come back to our sprite, every point of this stage area has a number. Alright, and if I can demonstrate this to you before we move on, we are going to go to the next thing that I want us to see, which is called a backdrop. So to add a backdrop is a background. So for now our backdrop is white, or our background is white. But if we wanted to select a different backdrop, we can say choose a backdrop, and I'm going to choose this backdrop here. Now to demonstrate what I was talking about, let's make this smaller. I'm going to take this cat, and you will see that at this point it is minus 100, at this point is plus 100, as this one is minus 100. So let me take this and place it right here. You will see that it says the x-axis, which is this side, which is here, so that this line here you can see is minus 96, which is right here, and then the y-axis is minus 95, which is right here. So please take note of those things. They come in handy when you start doing nice projects. Okay, they come in very handy. Okay, then let's move on from our backdrop. If you wanted to design your own background, you can go and create a new background by coming to this paint tool. And if you are a person who can draw very well, I've seen some of you guys can draw very well, you can draw your background. Alright, and this background is not going to change, it's going to be there unless you change it. Okay, I don't draw very well. Okay, then if you wanted to delete this background, you can just click on this garbage can. If you delete this one also, you cannot delete this one unless you add a new one, then only you can delete that one there. Alright, you can also upload a backdrop, alright, or a background. To do that, you select upload backdrop. I'm going to go and find an image, a random image on my computer, and I can use that backdrop. So you can upload your own backdrop. Alright, and still on here we have a sprite. We can choose a sprite, a new sprite, and if we choose a new sprite, this sprite is going to come to our sprite info pane. Alright, so we have now a new sprite, and we can rename the sprite and just call it bear. That's not a problem, and we have now a new sprite to our project. We can delete that bear if we want to, and we can leave it. And even with a sprite, you can draw your own, you can upload also your own sprite. This star here, it's just going to give you a surprise. It just selects a surprise sprite for you. You You don't have to do anything special. It doesn't do anything special, it just gives you a surprise sprite. Okay, now this is where you find all the information about your sprites, alright, and your backdrop. Alright, now if we go back to the costumes, the costume pane, we looked at the code pane, but now we want to look at the costume pane. Now the costume pane can be accessed by clicking on costumes. Now some of the sprites that we have in our project will have multiple frames to them. For instance, this bear has multiple frames, alright, and we can manage those frames in the costumes tab. For instance, we have this frame, this frame, this frame, this frame, this frame, and this one, also this one, and this one. And as you can see, whenever we click on a frame, it gives us the impression that this bear is actually walking. Alright, so if I click on this one, it changes the frame. But we are not going to yet look at how to change those frames in code. It's just for you to know that we can have different costumes for some of these sprites. For instance, let's take this Anina, and then we look at her, and these are the sprites that we have for her. Alright, so you can actually create multiple sprites of yourself. You can take pictures of yourself, remove the background, and then you can create yourself to be a sprite. Alright, now to do that, to remove your background, this is something that I'm going to just show you as passing, so that when you are playing at home you can have a look at it. So you go to this website, remove.bg. alright, you find an image, you find the image whose background you want to remove. So let me go and find a picture here, and let me go and find a picture. So let's use, which picture can I use? I'm going to use this picture, right? Then I drag this picture and I drop it here, and then it removes the background. Then I can download it. Alright, then you can see it's been downloaded and it's going to be there in my downloads folder. Therefore I can come now and add it and upload it. There it is. Now I am a sprite now. Alright, so if I wanted to add other sprites, if I wanted to add other frames to the sprite, I could do that as well. Right, so that is how I would add myself as a sprite. Okay, so I can remove, now I can remove me. Yeah, let me remove me. Okay, that's how I can do that. So that is the costumes panel. That's a costumes pane. Alright, then we have sounds. We have the sounds pane right here, or rather the sounds tab. Alright, so we have let's play this sound. Okay, well, I've switched off my speakers because they were, well, if you can't hear the sound, it's because I've switched off my speakers. But if you can hear it, I can't hear it because my speakers are off. So to select a sound, you go to sounds and you select choose a sound, right? Then you can search for the sound that you want. An electric guitar that's playing in the key A, and if I press it, it's just going to play the key A, chord A. So then you can use the sound. You can use the sound in your projects as well, but we are going to see that when we start coding. And we move to let's say you wanted to to see some tutorials of how to do certain projects, right? Then you can go to tutorials here on the toolbar, and let's say we wanted to play the Pong game. Okay, then the Pong game, it's going to show you the tutorials here. It's going to show you the steps first of all, then it's going to show you what's going to happen. Then you can click next, and it's going to tell you to add a backdrop. Secondly, add a ball sprite. Thirdly, you see, you add the bouncing ball and all of that. So this is a tutorial, so you can find tutorials in the toolbar right at the top. All right, and then you can, well, when you found your tutorial, you can select it. All right, it's going to be it's going to be added there. If you don't want to use a tutorial, you can just click back, and all the tutorials also, they've got categories that you can select from. Okay, then I can click on back. Then we have, okay, we've added the sound, and we've added the tutorials. All right, then we want to save our project. All right, we want to make sure that we save our project so that next time that we want to work with it, we can know exactly where our project is. All right, so to do that, you can just create this. You can go to where it says Scratch project in the toolbar, and let's say Scratch 101. So you give your project a name that is going to describe it, so that when you want to see that project again, you know exactly what name to look for. Then you can click on File and Save to your computer, and you can just go and create a new folder in your drive, or if you are working from home and you are using your parents' laptop, you can create a folder for yourself. And let's create a folder. I right click there and I will say new folder. So you know how to create a new folder, and you know how to save. Then you can save your project, so whenever you want to use that project, you can go back to it. All right, so let me save this project, and let's say that our project has been saved. Right now it's gone. So what I want to do, you want to go and open that project, and you will see that I don't go and double click on it. You must first open Scratch. Okay, first open Scratch, and then when you've opened Scratch, you click on File, Load from Computer, and then you will see it will be whatever file name you have selected, .sp3. Then you can click Open. It's going to open that project for you. All right, then finally, if you wanted to use a different language, let's say, okay, well, Zulu is found online and Afrikaans is there. So if you are speaking Afrikaans and you wanted to use Afrikaans, you can select Afrikaans there. I know Zulu is only on, I know online you can find Zulu. So that is basically how we would use that is the basics of the interface of Scratch. Then let me show you some of the things that we can achieve. Okay, and I must go to my profile, and this is a project that I did some years ago, and okay, so it's a project that I did years ago. I never finished it, and if you go and look, you can play it. You know, you can shoot. You're not supposed to, whatever says oops, you're not supposed to shoot it. You know, but yeah, it wasn't perfect. So there's certain things that were not happening. You know, so it wasn't really perfect. If you shoot the wrong thing, it deducts from your lives. You've got 10 lives, it deducts from your lives, and you can see at the top when you things crash on you, then they